a two-pair of shoes. Don't you just know? Ha, 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 ha. Hey, oh. Ooba, 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 ooba. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Hey, oh.
My name's Malcolm Cawley. I've always been excited and involved with music, I suppose. But I was a teacher for 20 odd years, and then in the early 90s I decided I'd had enough for one reason or another, and I wanted to become more involved in music. Now, I'm a failed musician. Some would say I'm tone deaf and I got no sense of rhythm, but that didn't stop me working as semi-professional as a drummer for about 18 months with a couple of bands, most notably Leathercorn and Mustard. Anyway, when I gave up teaching, I decided I want to get more involved with music, and I've always enjoyed writing, so I started writing for the Western Telegraph, a weekly column and a gig guide and various other things. But there was a slight overlap between my work as a teacher and starting as a music journalist, so I didn't want to use my name as Malcolm Cawley. So I adopted the persona of BB Skone, which is the one that you see here today. And BB Skone, people always ask me, where did you get the name? And it was when I was at university, we had a fictitious group, and we had everything except the music. We had press releases, album sleeves, reviews, but no music. So we sort of established a template of what I'm all about: complete fabrication and a total lie. So BB Skone was the bass player in that band. They were called Les Salon Drabsters, and I wanted something that was kind of groovy and hip. You know, I wanted to be a hip person, so BB, and I wanted something that was a bit naff. And Scone is a name found in South Pembrokeshire from the Flemish. The Normans brought a lot of Flemish to settle in South Pembrokeshire and to help pacify the Welsh, I believe. So I put those two names together. So became a journalist for the Western Telegraph and doing, as I said, the various columns and reviews and so on. And about 10 years later, Radio Pembrokeshire was started in the late 90s, and I was approached then by their then owner to do a local music show, which I did for, where are we now, 2019, which I did for nearly 20 years. And more recently, I've moved now to Pure West Radio, which is a great little community radio station. They've given me a 2-hour show, whereas I only had a 1-hour show before, and it's podcast at purewestradio.com. So what else have I... So I regard myself as a bit of a champion of music here in West Wales, but because when I go somewhere else, you know, if you ever go on holiday to Basingstoke or Birmingham, the first thing I do is look to see, is there any music happening? And sometimes you can't find out unless you're in the know, or you're a musician or a regular gig goer. You don't know what's happening. So I'm quite pleased that I've been able to, in a small way, bring to people's notice. I'm laughing at what's happening in the music in Pembrokeshire. Although I spoke to 2 people this morning earlier who didn't know I existed in Pure West Radio, who were musicians themselves. So maybe I need a bit to another 25 years at this before I get fully established, because I must have been doing it about 28 years now. Alongside this, once I gave up teaching, music, as you probably know at this kind of level, doesn't bring in any money. So I worked for an event management company, and we helped organise events all over Pembrokeshire. We did the Pembroke Festival for a number of years. We also helped organise, I was part of the team that organised the 500th anniversary of the last tournament held in Wales, which was held at Cairo in 2005. Most recently, I've been involved with this. Not getting fatter inside T-shirts, that's a permanent occupation. But Tenby Blues Festival, that's been going since 2006, and it's quite an exciting thing because Well, it's the second weekend in November. We bring international artists from into Tenby, a whole weekend of blues music. We have ticket events in the De Valence Hotel, which is now the Guildhall Hotel, and Church House. But all the pubs, bars, well, nearly all the pubs, bars, restaurants have music in, which I program from noon on the Saturday until late, and noon on the Sunday until late on that particular weekend. It's pretty good stuff. We always try and get, like I said, international artists, and especially American artists, because America is the home of the blues. Arguably, I mean, it could have come from Africa, of course, but America is the home of blues, and we always try to have. Well, we always do have American artists on the bill somewhere. And also, we try to have a high proportion of female artists. I mean, this year, for example, we're headlining on the Saturday. We're really excited. We got Sugar Rayford. A lot of your viewers might not have heard of him, but he's currently won the award for the Best Blues Artist 2018 in America. Last month, and his album has received the award for the best blues soul album, I think, issued in America last year. So Sugar Ray Rayford, he's bringing his 7-piece band to America, and he's a great big bloke, full of the joie de vivre, and his music reminds me a bit of the music Solomon Burke used to make, bluesy but with a soul feel. So he's headlining Saturday. The other American we've got this year is on the Sunday, is Gina Cecilia, who's from Nashville, and there's more of a country side to her. Whatever we put on at the Blues Festival, there's always somebody who comes up to me and says, "That's not blues." Because people have a very narrow-minded idea of what blues is. And these days it tends to be post-Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Joe Bonamassa, a fat white man gurning and slapping his plank, and that's not entirely to my taste. So Gina will bring a countryside to it. I mean, talking of plank spanking, the best American artist we have ever had was Blind Boy Paxton. I don't know if you've heard of him. But he's in his mid-20s now, and he plays. Please check him out. He tours Europe and he tours America regularly. He plays music from the 20s and 30s, real original blues. He's equally adept at guitar, banjo, violin, and piano. We put him on as the opening act one night in the De Valence, which seats 600 people. And normally, we have up-tempo acts in the De Valence, like the Sugar Ray Rayford, dancey, soul, blues bands. 600 people, he was the opening act, Blind Boy Paxton, and you literally could have heard a cliche drop. It was perfectly quiet. People weren't even buying drinks while he was on. Amazing, amazing performer. Yeah, well, there is a great tradition in South Wales of rock and roll and blues bands, rhythm and blues bands, from Cardiff especially, but coming west. So we always put local bands on, always. Not just on the Blues Trail, which is free, but we always get one or two onto the main stages to give them the opportunity to play to a huge audience. And of course, our headliners, the biggest act we've ever put on in terms of numbers wanting tickets was Andy Fairweather Lowe. Of course, he's from Cardiff. He was with Amen Corner. He was band leader for Eric Clapton for a number of years. Although Andy Fairweather Lowe is a great guitarist in his own right. I prefer him to Mr. Clapton myself, but that's a matter of opinion. So we could have sold out the hall twice over. Of course, it's not about famous acts. It's not about headliners like Andy Fairweather Lowe, because what we like to think is we put quality acts on. People might not have heard of them before, but they know they're going to have a damn good time. There's going to be great music, a great energy, and a great passion when they come to Tenby Blues Festival. I mean, nobody exemplified that more than when we had Don Pipkin's band there. He was in the middle order of three people. He wasn't a headliner. Played a 1 hour set of spellbinding New Orleans piano, really. And Dr. John has just passed away very recently. Mac Rebennack, who was the epitome of that type of music. And Dom plays exactly that particular style. I think he enjoyed himself as well, because we had difficulty getting him off the stage that night. He was supporting Rebecca Downs.
I'm going down to New Orleans. I'm going to see that Mardi Gras. I'm going down to New Orleans. I'm going to see that Mardi Gras.
Funny enough, he was one of the acts. Somebody came up to me afterwards. Now, you've got to remember, Don Pipkin, he's one of the world's finest boogie piano players in the New Orleans heritage. Didn't have a guitar player, rhythm section, horns and piano. A woman came up to me afterwards, 2 women, and said, "Why did you have that guy on the stage? He wasn't blues." And so at that point you want to turn away and bang your head against a brick wall, because if playing New Orleans music wasn't the blues, I don't know what is. But of course, Tenby's not the only promoting I do. I used to do a lot more, but I'm getting on a bit now. I'm nearly 29, so I do put music on occasionally on a lovely little chapel at Marteltwy, Bernard's Hill Chapel. I don't know if you know it, but it was built by the miners. There was a big mining industry in South Pembrokeshire alongside the River Cleddau in the 19th century, and the miners there, I think, is a Calvinistic Methodist, if that's correct, chapel. Anyway, they built the chapel there to worship. It was going to fall into private ownership, but a number of people rescued it, had it renovated, and now we put music on there now and again. I don't do it very often. A lot of bluegrass there, too much banjos and fiddles for me, but I don't just like blues, and I try to put quality acts on when they come around. One of the ones I put on there is Tia and Tommy Parham, Tia McGrath from Canada, although he's American. They've been over here a few times. I think I've put them on there twice. Lovely couple, beautiful music that they make, and they've sold out the chapel on 2 occasions.
Grandfather, chief of the proud Cherokee, you are much older and wiser than me. There are some things that I don't understand as I'm growing in years, becoming.
Last time they were there, you know how it is sometimes when performers play to an audience, there's always somebody in the audience who knows somebody or wants to book them. And somebody came up to them afterwards and said, this is what he said to them, I kid ye not, he said, I saw Dylan and Joan Baez live in the early 60s and you're better than them. Now, I mean, that's debatable. And Tia is a very modest person, and she said, well, thank you very much, and demurred. But he then booked them for, I think, his a birthday party. So that was quite nice. What of the future? Well, I don't know how long my future's. I'm already 5 years past the age of my hero John Peel when he passed away. So no, I'm getting more in there. I'm really happy to be working here at Pure West Radio. Like I said earlier, it's a true community station. And they've given me a 2-hour programme, whereas I only had 1-hour programme before. And I will continue to publicise local musical talent. There's always loads of great talent coming through. And there's always a load of old geezers, men and women, who are making music as well, as they have done for maybe half a century. And I think it's really important to put it in the public domain, because a musician needs to have an audience. To bring these people to a wider audience, I'm going to cry now. I'm such a wonderful human being. I really enjoy doing it. I just love listening to the music, and I love being able to put it out there. When somebody gets a bit more successful or gets a bigger audience, it's really pleasing. And I think the music is so vibrant in West Wales, and partly it's due to the amazing venues we've had here, from the big venues like the Queen's Hall in Narberth. I mentioned Marteltwy Chapel, the old tin shed in Larne. That was a great venue. And also, because we're a peninsula, there's a geographic... I was a geography teacher, you know. I haven't got the corduroy elbow patches with me today, but I was a geography teacher. Because we're a peninsula, music is kind of crammed in here. You know, I mentioned earlier about Basingstoke, or you go to Mid Wales, and like the scene can't develop because it's not so contained. But the other side of it is making people aware of it, and in my way, I want to make people aware of what's happening in the scene. And if you know what's happening, then you can go there and help it move along. So the best way to find out what BB Skone is up to, Malcolm Cawley will remain a secret. Go to purewestradio.com to hear the show, but it's podcast on a Monday morning, because the show goes out at 7:00 on a Sunday night, but the show is then podcast on a Monday morning. And the best way to find the podcast is to go to BB Skone's Pembrokeshire Music Show page on Facebook. So, and that'll be up there.
Don't believe I wear two pairs of shoes. Don't you just know?